Greetings, all you Let's Play fans. My name is Anna Mardal, and this is my third Let's Play through Long Live the Queen. I thought today it would be fun to try to do a Brienne run. If you've played Long Live the Queen before, or if you've watched my previous Let's Play videos, which I totally recommend that you do so if this is the first one you're coming to, because I'm not going to spend a lot of time introducing each new person. I'm going to assume some baseline familiarity with the game. But if you've played through before, you know that there's a point in time where Brienne, who is, I think, your cousin, runs away from home, gets into a lot of trouble, and I think she dies. I didn't really pay a lot of attention to that at the time because I was busy with my kingdom being invaded. But I did know, based on people talking online, that there is a way to go with her on her adventure, and that it is very, very hard, and if you don't have all the skills you need to have, you die. So I thought, hey, let's get a list of all the skills we need and do a run through. I did run through this last night, so I'm kind of following a script here a little bit, and the reason for that is my last Let's Play, I made some mistakes, had to saves come a little bit, and I didn't really enjoy that. I felt bad for everybody in the audience having to watch me try to figure out, get my act together. So we have a script. We're sticking to it. This isn't the first time I've seen this material, but I just ran through it last night. It's still a little bit emotionally raw. So I think that's probably the best of both worlds. So it's February. My allergies are still acting up like whoa. My voice sounds like it's coming out of my nose. But hopefully we can get through this without me sounding too much like, I don't know, a smushed faced lizard person thing. Alright, starting the game now. This is your dad, and I traditionally, whenever I start these, I introduce your dad by saying that your dad is useless. And that's true, but today I'm going to feel bad about saying that. We'll find out why. But this is your dad, and your dad is useless. And this is you. You're Elodie, crown princess, and your mom has just died, and now you have to try to be a queen in training for the next year until it's time for your coronation, and that's when you get your ending. So we've played this before. We're not going to have it explain the game mechanics. We're going to go through that. And, alright, these are your skills. You have no skills. And this is your mood, which is very depressed because your mom just died. And I'll try not to belabor this too much, but basically for anyone who hasn't played this before, your mood affects the learning bonuses or demerits that take place when you try to learn skills. So right now, because we're so majorly depressed, we would have no chance at learning any kind of public speaking or court manners because the depression is messing with our ability to learn public speaking. But on the other hand, the depression is really helping us with our learning of how to handle horses and dogs, and falcons. So this whole game is kind of a balance between learning skills, maintaining your mood, and trying to stay alive. So since we are trying to do a Brienne run, one of the things that we know in advance is that, or maybe we don't know because I didn't even bother doing this in previous playthroughs, but there comes a point where Gwenelle invites you to her birthday party, and that's where you meet Brienne. And I have not, in a Let's Play, gone to Gwenelle's birthday party because we inevitably get killed by bandits. So one of the ways to avoid being killed by bandits, there's a couple ways to avoid it. One of the ways to avoid it is to have enough intrigue, that's these three skills here, internal affairs, foreign intelligence, and ciphering, enough, it has to add up to 40 of any of these together, all three, for at some point your dad will say, you need to be more careful, and you'll say, I've got agents, and he says, yes you do, what do you want your agents to be doing? And this is a good example of your dad being useless, because he should have pointed out you had agents before then, but this is a game, so okay. And he says, what do you want your agents to be doing? And you can have an option to say, I want more bodyguards. And the bodyguards are one way to get past the bandits on the road to Gwenelle's party, so you can meet Gwendolyn. So that was a long way of explaining why on week 1 we're going to be learning internal affairs and foreign intelligence. So we're going to go to classes and we're going to say intrigue and intrigue, internal affairs, foreign intelligence, go! And this is us learning internal affairs. So we've seen this before. Elodie's cousins show up. Elodie's aunt, who is a terrible person. I learned that after the last Let's Play. She's the one who's behind practically all of the assassination attempts on you. Grr! But anyway, get past that. Get past that. Elodie doesn't know that. Here's our mood. We have to do something with our mood. So what I know is that if we went to visit, what we really need to do is we need to get rid of this depressed. If we went to visit Charlotte, she would give us a cheerful, but she would also give us a -1 lonely if we were lonely. And she's going to stay for 2 weeks. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and walk in the garden and take the cheerful and the lonely hit so that next week I can get rid of the lonely hit. So there we are. Walk in the garden. It seems kind of strange to not talk to Lottie when she first shows up, but let's role play it through and say that she was unpacking or something. Dance. Dance is one of the things that you might need to get through the Brienne run. I was trying to brute force the Brienne run, like to make sure I would get through it. So I got both 30 in dance and 70 in horses. You really only need one or the other, is my understanding, I think. I think my understanding is that the dance kicks in after the horse check fails, assuming the horse check fails. So, even though I never used it, we're going to take, here it is, dance. Two classes in dance. And since we've got a modifier on that, that should, because we're afraid, that should get us up to 30, which is 30 is what we would need, is my understanding, to get through the Brienne run. So week 2, if you're following this along, you can feel free to study something more useful than dance. Because as I recall, the dance never ever helped me in this playthrough. Juliana, Duchess of Ersul. This is your magic teacher aunt, who, as I found out in my play last night, is kind of a jerk. Really, everybody in this kingdom is a jerk. It makes it very difficult to want to rule them. Let's arrest her. We can't send her away because she's our magic... Well, we could, but I don't want to send her away because she's our magic teacher, and I am kind of angry at her, so we're going to arrest her. Throw her in the castle. Plus the angry helps because now we're slightly less afraid, because angry is diametrically opposed to afraid. So, oh yeah, I said we'd visit Lottie, so we're going to visit Lottie, because she's going to give us a cheerful and take our lonely away, like you do. And now it's week 3. And another thing that we need is, in order to, when we talk to Brienne to understand what the heck she's talking about when she starts talking about the old castle, we need to either have lore at like 60, I think, or Novan history up here at like 90, I think. So, I mean, you already know which one I'm going to go for, right, is lore, because A, we have a bonus on lore. We've got this +1, which means we can learn it faster. And B, I just like lore better. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Yep, lore. Ooh, we have a bonus on afraid. So we're going to get up to 30 on lore right off the bat, which is, you know, useful. Now we're going to get bitten by a snake. Yay! And y'all have already seen this before. We get poisoned, and you think that we're gonna die, but Lottie heals us with magic and magical red eyes that stare into our soul. And there's our evil aunt, who I'm pretty sure planted the poisonous snake. So basically she's evil. You would think, like, doesn't that put her daughter in danger? But somebody told me, was it Chris? I think it was Chris. Somebody told me that she's been putting poison, like little bits of poison, in Lottie's food to give her an immunity, which, don't try that at home, kids. It's kind of controversial and frequently doesn't work and is additionally not something that you really need. Like, there's so many easier ways to kill people. So, okay, we gotta do something for the weekend. I wanted to visit our dad because I never talked to him prior to, like, we talked to him after we released Juliana, who's in the dungeons, but I wanted to talk to him beforehand. She says, Dad, what really happened to Mom? Because your dad had just said that it was Juliana's fault that your mom was dead, which sort of sounds like Juliana killed her or something. So what really happened to Mom? And Dad says, she was a Lumen, a magic user. It was meant to be in reserve to defend our domain, but she insisted on... ... You don't need to hear that. She used magic. It drained her strength. She thought it was harmless, and it wasn't. Eventually, her heart just stopped. That's why I don't want you involved with it. Now, that's kind of weird, and actually it's kind of frustrating because, you know, I guess because you're 14, but gosh darn it, I'm supposed to be queen, or going to be queen. Nobody will really tell you what happened to your mother. So that made it sound like magic made her weaker and weaker, and then she had like a heart attack or heart failure, and it just, you know, bzzzt. And how does that work? I mean, Juliana's been using magic, I think, right? Hasn't she? So does magic weaken everybody, or did your mom just have some kind of... There's all these questions, and they're not going to be answered very well because I guess that's part of the mystery. So, I won't spoil. We'll just keep going. Skills. Okay, I'm still trying to get lore up to 60, but you remember we can't train past 50 in a skill if the companion skills aren't 25 or higher. So we can't just ramp lore up to 60. We'd tap out at 50. So I'm going to go ahead and switch down to divination and start building that one up. And hopefully we'll get 30 on that too, since we're still pretty afraid. Actually, it looks like we may get more than 30. 33. That's really good. Yay. The castle seems quieter with Charlotte gone. It's certainly not empty. It seems like we get more servants every day. Let's go back and visit Dad some more, since the option's there. And okay. Daddy? He sighs, rubbing his fingers over his forehead, because he's so busy with his King Dad stuff. What is it? I love you. That just breaks my heart. Like, it really does, because it's easy to forget that Elodie's 14 years old, because I'm not 14 years old, and I'm the player, and she's kind of my little avatar, and plus, you know, it's a game, so it's really easy for me to forget that this little girl is 14, and her mom just died, and no one will tell her anything about how her mom died. I don't even know if we got to go to her funeral or had any kind of closure. Her dad's constantly busy to the point where, you know, in order for the game to work, he has no input into our schedule. He has no input into what we do on the weekends. So, you know, I mean, this is a very isolated, lonely little girl, and it breaks my heart. I love you. He looks at you without speaking, and you begin to feel bad for bothering him with your silly feelings. Then he stands and puts his arms around you. I love you too. And we got a +1 to cheerful and a +1 to yielding. For this moment, you are safe and happy. Okay, that one makes me cry. Especially since I don't even really like him very much, and I do feel like he's very useless. Although, you know, again, some of it is because the game requires that he be so, but still, that was a really, I think, loving response and moment, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit. Continuing on, week 5. This is the point where I said, crap, because, like, next week, like, right away, the Duke of Sedna is going to send us a necklace, and I didn't want to get, betrothed to him. We've already done that, so I wanted to try something different. So in order to not get, like, accidentally betrothed to him, we need 10 in court manners. Now, fortunately, we've done something. We've fixed our depression to the point where we're not getting a depression hit on conversations, and we only need 10 in court manners, so that's one class. And so instead of doing like meditation, which I would normally do because I'm trying to build up to the lore 60, I got kind of shiny over here and had to take a court manners lesson. So, bam. Court manners. And meditation. One of the maids approaches for your attention. My lady courtiers have arrived from the Duke of Sedna. Now, if you remember in the last Let's Play, we didn't know what Sedna was because we'd taken like no history and no foreign affairs. But this time we actually have taken foreign intelligence. So she says, Sedna, that's in Talaise, the domain to our southeast. So good, we don't look like a uneducated, terrifying loose cannon in front of our maid Alice. So Alice says they have brought you a letter and a gift. And the gift is the necklace. And test court manners. It might not be appropriate for me to wear a man's gift in public. People would think it meant something, so we're not going to wear it. It's important to maintain the proper image. Excuse me. And now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attend services to try to get the Afraid down a little bit. The Afraid's sort of helping us with the lore, but it hurts so much else. So I'd really rather not have it. So we're going to Afraid, gone. So, mood, skills. We're still getting a faith boost. I think I've mentioned this before. I'm pretty sure as you train in something, you sort of get in the zone and you get bonuses based on the fact that you have existing skill in it. So it's like the more you learn in something, the easier it is to learn other things in that thing, which makes sense. I'm not 100% sure that my theory is true, but it certainly feels that way. So we need to do another class in meditation to get it past that 25 hump, and then we can continue with lore. So we're going to do, here we are, faith, meditation, lore, go. And since we got 25 in everything, we now have a new outfit, which you guys have seen before. It's the priestess outfit. I'll put it on just so you can see. So this is new, because we still have Juliana in the dungeon. I don't know if you remember, but that woman, the priestess, keeps staring at me. What do you want? The priestess, if you remember from a previous playthrough I talked about, is Juliana's girlfriend. So, I think this is sweet. Your destiny will find you, even if you run from it. You are born to wield the power of a lumen. Oh, and the priestess is also a lumen. What do you know about that? The power was your mother's and the kings and queens before her. It is your right and your responsibility to defend your domain with magic. Which, we have all kinds of conflicted feels about that, because if you went through the previous video, we all know what happens when you defend your domain with magic. And Celine should know, because she's the one with the records, because she's a member of the Second Circle. And what happens when you defend your domain with magic is that Cthulhu appears and eats everybody. So, you know, maybe that tradition, maybe should just go off over there in the corner and think about what it's done, is my thoughts. But, okay, have we ever looked at her bio? Ah, she's our tutor in faith. Huh. So you'd think instead of saying that priestess, we would have said our tutor, but whatever, it's fine, whatever. I have seen signs of the future. Danger is coming. Without that power, this land is defenseless. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? The Duchess of Ursul will teach you if you set her free. And also, she is my girlfriend, but I'm not going to mention that. But Celine says she never harmed your mother. They were friends. It is only because she bears the power of a lumen so openly that your father rejects her. So, well, okay, then she probably shouldn't be in the dungeon anymore because she hasn't done anything wrong. So say, okay, I'll free her. And that got us a +1 to willful, which I think is kind of funny because we are willful in the sense that we're disobeying our father, but we did basically just get browbeaten into this. Very well, I'll see to it that she is released. And Celine says, once she is free, speak to her and she will guide you. So, okay. We didn't have to go to the dungeon. She's not in the dungeon anymore. Now she's over here. And I'm going to save because, like, I'm going to get all the way into this and then misclick a button or something. And I don't want to do that. We shouldn't need to save scum, but we need to be making stopping points just in case something screws up. So, okay, let me see. Well, we just freed Juliana, so now we should go talk to her and maybe apologize for locking her up. So, Elodie says, what is it you wanted to teach me? And Mother's crystal, y'all have all seen this. Where is it? Do you have a crystal? Here's my crystal. Mine's blue. And blah, blah, blah. No one can take it from me until I die. And we need to find ours. Okay. We've seen that. Skills. How are we doing on skills? Lore. Lore. We need 60 in lore. So we really only need one more. Oh, and I promised I'd show you the priestess robe, which y'all have seen before, and I really like. And now we look like a little Celine. Except I think she was blue and we're purple, but that's fine. So we really only need one more of lore. And another thing that we will need is running. I can't remember what running needs to get up to. It'll come to me later. But running, that's a thing we need. So it was high. I think it was like 50. So, classes. We'll do lore in the morning to finish that out. And oh, look, there's little bows on the... That's adorable. Everything has to be extra twee. Agility, I think. No. Athletics. Running. Bam. Go. And there's our lore. We're over 60. We're over 70. So we should be fine there. So, oh, here we are. See? Old capital on Cathrie Lake. That was what we needed, 60, in order to be able to talk to Brienne about her plans. So, running. There we are. As you're walking up the stairs, a maid comes running down with linen and barrels into you. And we've tried to avoid this before with reflexes and elegance, and that we just didn't have time. So we can either punish her or apologize. I hate that those are our only two options, because apologize is going to give us like a depression modifier or something, which we don't need that right now. And punish her is just awful. I mean, it's not her fault that we weren't looking where we were going. So we apologize. And we got a depression. Okay, we'll just take our lumps. Mood. We're not doing too bad. Basically, we've got this afraid, we've got this depression, so that's not great. But we'll visit the church and get rid of our afraid. So, this is the part where I had to save Scum a little bit, because I kept training, like, running. And in just a little while, I don't know if you remember, but Bryn and Banyan will show up and will say, you know, hey, we've got this whole looming issue with Ixion taking over one of our territories. We need you to do something. And I just kept messing it up horribly. So finally figured out that if I do some training in logistics, then I can pay Ixion to leave, but I can pay them less than what they're originally asking, which seemed like the best compromise I could get, when at this point I'm already deep into untrainedness. So, logistics it is. Shiny! Shiny! There's a shiny thing over there. Let's chase it. So now I have 20 in logistics. Oops. There's a man to see you. He's the Gutenberg printing press guy. And we have no production. We have no trade. So we just say, nah, get out. Go sell your sub story to somebody else. And let's go talk to Dad about Mom's Lumen Crystal. That'll give us a willful, which we could use right now. It's in a safe place. Can I have it? No. Fuck you, Dad. Meddling with magic killed your mother. I don't want that to happen to you. Once you're crowned queen, I can't stop you from doing anything you want, but for now you're still a child. Psh. So he doesn't, come over to see us or tell us he loves us, but he can tell us we can't have our crystal. What were we doing? We were doing logistics. More of that. Boom. 40 logistics. That should be enough, right? No, it's not going to be enough. I think we need one more. Banyan shows up. Hello, Banyan. And, he's kind of the consummate politician, because he really does want something from us, but he leads with the sympathies. And also leads with even after all these years, I sometimes forget that my own mother will never be coming back. So he's smooth. He's not just sympathetic, he's empathetic. He knows what we're feeling. So we say thank you. I must call for your aid. The Ixionite occupation of the country of Ibrium has gone on for too long. Now is the time to push back. I know there's been some problems with Ixion, but I don't know the details. I guess they're occupying southern Marie. Military, logistics. We do have plenty of troops, so it shouldn't be that hard to drive them out if we want to make a fight of it. But let's try to negotiate first, because, we're going to need those troops later. There must be a peaceful way to settle this. I will ask for diplomats to come and try to come to some arrangement. Says, thank you, Your Highness. If I may say so, you're looking particularly lovely this day. I hope you will think fondly of me. And we married Banyan in my first playthrough, if you remember. And I'm completely delighted at how he's sort of the consummate politician / rogue that, from this whole conversation, he's been manipulating as much as possible that I'm like you, I lost my mother too, and I need you to fix this little territorial problem for me that my sister got us into, and it totally was her fault, and also you're very pretty, like I bet this guy doesn't get out of bed in the morning without a plan for how to tackle the day and wrestle it to the ground and win it. He plays to win, so I find that quite amusing. So anyway, yeah, unfortunately we're not going to be able to make him happy this time, because I didn't figure you wanted to see a let's play where we keep marrying Banyan over and over again. So let's go to service and get rid of our depression. I try to stay on an even keel for a while. So depression gone, yay. We need another logistic. We need to be 50 logistics in order to pass this check coming up. And we're also going to need herbs eventually. So for the Briony run, we need like 60 in herbs, I think. So since we have... Well, we could keep doing running, but we're going to do herbs instead. So classes, logistics, shiny herbs. Go. Oh, I know why. Because we have a hospital coming up, and I thought that would help me. So, logistics and herbs because of the hospital coming up. Now we have 50 logistics, and we actually kind of wasted some learning because we hit the 50 barrier, but it is what it is. We live with it. Herbs. So now we have the representative from Ixion here, and you have the full support of my sister and myself, Your Highness. Let's get this over with. Yes, I could. The air is just full of full support. You could cut it with a knife. What do we have on her? There we go. That's all we have, really. So, single. We have no Novan history, so we can't really... Or foreign affairs, so we don't pull up that this was all Bryn's fault, which means we don't get the punish Bryn option. But that's fine. We weren't going to anyway. That makes Banyan angry, and I didn't want to have to deal with like unhappy nobles in civil war, because if you accidentally start a civil war, you can't run off with Briony. So we will offer him money if Ixion withdraws. This is not acceptable. All the land north of the river belongs to us. We are willing to offer some payment in exchange for the inconvenience you have suffered, but nothing more. And the diplomat says, well, give us $8,000. Gold lassie. And Elodie said, logistics, yay! That's a lot of money. Maybe I can talk him down by reminding him how much a war would cost. So we make a counter offer, and she says, you can count the value of the soldiers you're not losing in battle. 5,000 and not 1 tilla more. And he says, okay. So negotiating like this is stressful. But hey, we just got Banyan his territory back. Or I guess it's Bryn and Banyan. I'm not really sure who owns what at this point. But Bryn and Banyan got their territory back. Neither of them got like forced to marry. We didn't lose any soldiers over it. I mean, the treasury took a hit, but it could have been worse. So civil war averted. Accidental marriage to Banyan averted. I feel pretty good about that. What are we gonna do over the weekend? Let's go walk in the gardens. That'll give us a cheerful and it'll bring us down to an even kilter on the lonely pressured meter. So, walk in the gardens. Now, oh, look how happy Elodie is. She's smiling. Now we're going to continue to learn herbs. Because I told you, right, we've got the hospital thing coming up. So here we are, herbs. And, oh, this is your dad. There are reports that a Keithong has been sighted. Hey, we passed the lore test. We almost never do. The Old Forest. That's the area by the Cathri Lake where the capital was until it was destroyed by monsters. Which, I don't know if you remember, but last playthrough, we learned that the reason that Cthulhu got summoned after our naval battle was that basically anytime a bunch of active lumens gather in one place and use a lot of magic together, monsters are drawn to it or you know, pulled through the veil or whatever. You know, I'm not quite sure what the in-universe handwave is for it. But, so, I mean, it's strongly implied that the reason the old capital or the old forest in the blah, blah, blah. The reason the capital in the old forest was destroyed was because everybody who lived in the capital in terms of the leadership were lumens using lumen power, and so monsters rawr, and they've been in the old forest ever since. So once again, magic kind of a bad thing in this universe. What's a Keithong? A beast with the body of an enormous golden cat, a sharp beak, and spikes on its back. So, several disappearances in South Caloris are already thought to be the work of this creature. Well, what should we do? Should we send hunters? He says the traditional policy on stray beasts is to hope that they return to the forest and stay there. Because, you know, kind of like we found out with Cthulhu, if the Keithong is anything like Cthulhu, you can't beat them. They literally, they're kind of like, they have a kill switch where once they kill enough, they're sort of sated and go back to sleep, but otherwise you have to use more magic to try to subdue them, and that's a risky proposition in itself and might bring more monsters, who knows. So I mean, the official policy is to be scared of these guys and just hope that it kills your neighbor and not you. And that's the official policy because there isn't a better one. So that's sad. And you know, hunters would are no match for such creatures. You would only make it angry and waste more lives. And Ellie says, so we just let it eat people? And he says, well, everybody dies. You know, which, thank you, Dad. We're not still in mourning for our mom or anything because we just got a depression addition there. But you know, it is what it is. And he's right. I mean that's kind of it's kind of a really horrible fact of life in this universe that there's not so far nobody has come up with a good way to kill these magical creatures. So, what were we doing? We're even keel. Let's walk in the gardens again. That'll make us lonely, but we could use the cheerful since everything seems bound and determined to make us depressed. We need more herbs. This has to be at like 60, but obviously we can't get past 50 without 25 in battlefield medicine and 25 in poison. So classes, we'll keep doing herbs, and we'll also do battlefield medicine because we need the herbs for the medicine, the hospital check coming up. There's a woman here. She wants crowdfunding. And she wants to build a hospital, and because we passed herbs and battlefield medicine, Elodie goes, oh yeah, centralizing resources could help people who don't have doctors of their own. Now, I didn't just do this for the ending. We've already seen the ending. It makes the ending nicer. I read on the wiki that it has a chance of helping out in an event in like week 30 or something, and I don't think it ever became pertinent in my playthrough. So either I did something wrong or I did enough things right that it didn't need to be pertinent. So let's just say I did enough things right. But we had to get herbs anyway for this Briony run, so it's a nice gimme on top of that will also invent hospitals. So invest, yes. And let's go walk in the garden some more. I think I was building up my lonely for reasons that I can no longer recall. Skills. Maybe it's helping the medicine. I bet it is. Herbs, battlefield. So we can't. Herbs is almost at 50. We won't be able to train any more of that really until battlefield and poison go up. So. Battlefield and poison. Battlefield's at 25, yes. Like, you learn that blood loss wastes life energy. Bleeding should be stopped through bandages. That's a good thing to learn. The first treatment for most ingested poisons is to toss down some powdered charcoal. You were requested to stand in judgment. A woman has been convicted of attempted murder. This is Kevin, the very angry Earl of Io, who constantly tries to kill us. I think he and our Aunt Lucille are the biggest threats to our throne. So it's really a shame that you can't start like a new game plus, and just execute them right off the bat. But anyway, we don't know anything about what's going on because we just have failed all these fail checks. So fine, put her in prison. I don't care. Tried to murder a noble of my domain. Boom. Kevin's happy. The woman tries to kill us, but we fail her archery check. But fortunately, we have guards, so they kill this poor woman who probably had every reason to do what she did. But we're not gonna dwell on it right now because it's depressing, and we don't want depression. Speaking of, in order to get back on our even keel, we need an afraid. So we're gonna visit the tomb and get a depressed and afraid because we've got some extra cheerful, so we can live with that. Skills, we need some more poison, and then we can get back to our herbery. So poison and then herbs. I should save again. Yep, that's why I was getting my lonely up. Bonus lonely. Good. Oh, we have a new outfit, and you guys haven't seen this one, I don't think. 60. Good. I think that was what we needed. We needed 60 in herbs, so we should be good on herbs. We don't have enough divination or falcons to figure out why that was a sign. If I recall, that was the sign that the Fabian is going to die, and that was what unlocked being able to talk to him at the gala. Look at my big memory. What are we going to do now? Maybe some pressure to get the lonely up, because we're done with our herbs. And the best way to get pressured is to go to court. And fortunately, we have enough cheerful to take a depression hit, so we're going to do that. I wanted to show you the medicine has a nurse's gown, which I really like. Like, if it was up to me, I would probably just have her stay in this forever, because I think it's adorable. Oh, and I wanted to save. Like, I've talked about this before, and I appreciate so much that the costumes in this game look like actual things that somebody would actually wear. Maybe not for the time period or whatever, set that aside. There is no time period. This is a fantasy game or whatever. But this looks like a thing that you would wear if you were a nurse. It's got an apron because it's going to get bloody and yicky and you can toss it away. It's got long sleeves. You know, it's you know, got a hairnet sort of. You know, nothing can contain Elodie's hair. But, you know, this seems like something that you would practically wear if you were practically going to go nurse somebody. And it's not, you know, like a fantasy candy striper skirt that comes up to mid-thigh and has, you know, knee-high boots and a little, you know, panel cut out over her boobs or something. Not that there would be anything wrong with that if that's your thing or if that's what you want to wear for fun or whatever, but for me personally, I really appreciate that the clothes in this game look like clothes. That is so rare in, well, in my experience, in a visual novel game, so that makes me happy. Sorry, that was just me going off on a tangent. Okay, let's get back to running, which, I don't know if you remembered, we were doing running and everything was lovely, and then all of a sudden I was like, oh my god, logistics for Britton Banyan, oh my god, herbs for the hospital, and now we're coming back to running. Athletics. More running. Running and running. Go. This is that festival, and I don't know if you remember, but in my second playthrough, we went to the festival and got killed by accident. I was really confused by that because I hadn't pissed anyone off, I thought. And then after the game, I was like, you know, at the time, I was like, maybe it was Kevin. Maybe we didn't imprison the woman properly or whatever. And none of that seemed to work. After the game was over, I was like, oh, well, you know, I did intimidate Ixion into withdrawing from Brennan Banyan's area, so maybe it was sent by Ixion. Well, then a couple people popped up in the comments to tell me, which, by the way, thank you guys, and girls, thank you y'all. Couple people popped up to tell me that what got me killed was Lucille, and the reason she sent Charlotte's mother, the reason she sent assassins after me was because even though I didn't tell anybody that Charlotte healed me, I sent Charlotte a letter basically being like, I can't even remember what the letter was, if it even specifically asked her about that, or if it was like, you should come back, or whatever. But anyway, I sent a letter to Charlotte, and that was enough for Lucille to send off an assassin after me. So, that woman, I just, ugh. But, we haven't done that this playthrough. We did see Charlotte do magic, right, because she saved us, but we didn't talk to anybody about it, because we didn't have that conversation with Juliana about how that means she has latent magical abilities. So we haven't talked to anybody about it, so Lucille doesn't know that we know, so we could go now without getting assassinated. There was a long way for that one, sorry. Letter. Briony. It's from Briony. She's complaining that her mother won't let her come home for the holidays. And Kevin has been acting weird. We need more running. We need more running, and I don't like how deeply yielding we're getting, so we're going to go some willful and sneak out. I'm gonna sneeze. Okay, sorry about that. I like that your father won't like it if he finds out. Well, there's a lot of things Dad doesn't like. Classes, more running. And again, this is a little wasteful because instead of learning another 11.89, we're going to learn 6.55 because we hit the cap. But it's better than getting 25 in the other athletic skills, which we currently don't need. Festival! The people will recover from disappointment. If we lose you, there is no recovery. So we're going to lead the parade. We're not going to make a speech. We have no speechery, but we'll lead the parade. And that gave us a cheerful, a willful, and a pressured. Best gown. We walk through the town. We have no decoration. We have no elegance. So, you know, whatever. But we didn't get killed. And now our willful is a little high, and our lonely, I don't like that, so I'd like to be pressured again, so we're going to go back to court. I think the willful being fine was fine. It was the lonely we didn't like it. I'm going to go ahead and do another save here just to be safe. Skills. We still need to get to 40 in intrigue total in order to ask for more guards after the gala, and obviously that's coming up pretty quickly. So we need to slap that in there. So we're going to do ciphering. I was trying to... I keep reading that if you have enough ciphering, you can figure out that somebody's letters, like Briony's letters, have like extra stuff in them. But I have never been able to get that, even though I get my ciphering up really high. So I don't know if I misread that or what, but anyway, this was why I picked ciphering and not internal affairs or foreign intelligence. Basically, you just need to be 40 in these total, so pick something. Boom, now we're 40. Yay! Are you ready for the ball? It's a gala! And we get a new background for it. And we have no presence, no elegance, no composure, no decoration. So basically we just looked really, really nervous, and we're afraid and pressured, and they've all seen you look nervous. Which, you know, screw that they've seen us look nervous. We're 14 years old. Of course we're going to be nervous. But, you know. Your father waits for you at the bottom of the stairs, offers his arms, first dance is for us. After this, you must choose your own partner. we don't have the intrigue or court manners that needed to um, get a fuller list of like if you pass that check right there, you would actually get names. Do you want to dance with Bob, or do you want to dance with John, or do you want to dance with Jennifer? We don't have that. We just have by ages. So here's one we haven't done in a while or at all. Let's do someone older than you. I thought it would be Banyan, but your eye settles on Chane, the Earl of Mima. He's almost 10 years older than you are and quite good looking, so why not enjoy yourself? So, that's what we're going to do. He smiles brightly at your approach and we begin to dance. And we trained in dance, we didn't train enough in dance, and so we tripped over our own feet. So that's unfortunate. Then there's all this chatting. And we didn't get any of the chatting. If we'd passed flattery, we would have actually like impressed people by being decent at talking, but we haven't trained in any of that. Banyan taps an elegant fingernail. This is always a little stressful because you never know if his toast is going to include, and by the way, I'm banging the queen, but he doesn't. He's just happy that we used our money to get his territories back for him, and also didn't force his sister to marry anybody. So he's fine. Everything's good. Everyone applauds politely. And then we get a whole list of people that we won't get to talk to because we didn't pass that divination about Fabian about to die. We didn't pass sense magic that Lucille has magic ability. We don't know anything, basically. And that's fine. That's for a different playthrough. This game is not played to such that you can see everything in one playthrough, and that's fine. I feel like I was trying to maximize yielding here for more intrigue, which I noticed from my walkthrough I'm still studying intrigue stuff. Why am I doing that? Maybe I needed more than 40. I really don't remember. I'm sorry. I'd have to check the wiki, and I don't want to stop to do that. So for whatever reason, either because I was hoping it would be useful later, or because I really do need more than 40 for this check, I kept studying intrigue. And this is me studying intrigue. This is interesting. This is going to come up later. Your maternal uncle's wife, the Countess Nyx, which is Lucille, the person who keeps trying to kill us, claims kinship to the old Merva line and originally asked your mother for the title to the duchy. However, no one could verify her lineage. As a compromise, your mother created her brother, so your maternal uncle, Duke of Merva. So, the Countess Nyx claimed to have kinship to the dukedom of Merva. Your mother couldn't verify it, so she said, well, I won't make you Duchess of Merva, but your husband, my brother, I'll make Duke of Merva, and your children will be heir to that title. So we talked about last time about how Lucille is kind of gathering power for herself, and and now especially we can talk about the fact that she's been trying to kill you all game in an attempt to get Charlotte onto the throne. So basically, yeah, we'll talk about this later in this playthrough, not later in a different one. Oh, you wander downstairs to visit your father. He's with a companion. I think I'm gonna sneeze again. Sorry. Oh, sorry about that. My sinuses have just been killing me this winter. Composure. So I talked last time about how I was disappointed that there wasn't an option to say, you know what, yes, mom is dead, but if dad needs a companion, I trust him to pick somebody that's good for him and go with God on this. So actually there is a chance to do that. It's just I've never seen it because apparently my composure has never been high enough. So that would have been this test right here, which opens up a new option, as I understand, to say, hey there, and then just be okay with it. So, this is what we have instead. I don't really want to do any of these, and also, not least because we're going to fail. We don't have presence. We don't have flattery, and I don't even think we have the reflexes to trip her. So we'll just pick one, and we'll go with scorn. She notices your stare. See, I said we didn't have enough presence. She notices your stare, but only smiles at you ever so sweetly. Darling Elodie, I hope you have been well. Fine. We're angry because we didn't appropriately convey our anger and distress. And she says, perhaps we'll be seeing more of each other in the future. And then gives a little wave and exits. So now we get to chew our father out, and he says, don't give me that look. She's a nice woman, nothing more. And she says she wants something more, and Dad says it's not going to happen anytime soon. Hey, we didn't get this is the road your actions have led us on. So I guess it's because since I became queen, or queen in training, absolutely nobody has gotten betrothed to anybody. We didn't get betrothed to the Duke of Sedna. We didn't make Brynn marry anybody. Basically, the fact that we didn't contract any marriages at all has meant that nobody is thinking about marriage. Which, seems a little my easily led nobles, but whatever. I'm going to go ahead and pause the video here for a second and come back and give me just a second. Okay, we're back, and I checked, and we did only need intrigue at 40 or above to pass the check that's coming up. So I'm guessing, I can't recall, really I don't. I'm guessing I kept studying internal affairs and ciphering because I was thinking that would be useful for some other stuff coming up, just in general. I mean, it's always good to know internal affairs, right? And I'm pretty sure it never actually came relevant. So you could probably spend this week doing something else that's more relevant. Dad says you should be careful with how you deal with people like Siren. You need the goodwill of your nobles, and there hasn't been any problems so far. And as queen, you must be aware of everything around you. Boom! Intrigue, success. Isn't that what I have agents for? Thank you for bringing it up, Dad. Yes, but you must give them direction. What is your greatest concern? Our greatest concern is assassins, because we want to go to Gwenelle's birthday party without having to do an obscene amount of training in reflexes. Like, I think to dodge the arrow that has your name on it, you need to have, like, reflexes of 100 or something. No. I can deal with any problems that come up as long as I'm here to deal with them. It's assassins I'm worried about. And Dad says, you are your own best defense against assassins. Increasing your skills will help to protect you, which obviously he couldn't be more wrong about that, but whatever. And also, way to victim blame me, Dad, for your abject failure to properly hire guards when there's a 14-year-old queen in training trying to occupy the throne, and everybody and their dog is sending assassins after me because, hey, what better way to get my daughter on the throne instead? And you're saying that if I get killed, it's my own fault for not, training in an obscene amount of archery and swords, and also training in dogs so I don't eat chocolate. I didn't pull that out of my butt. That's actually a real skill check. I mean, just your dad. Don't get me started. Okay, calming down now. Beyond that, you can train more soldiers into personal bodyguards to watch over you. What a good idea! It's amazing we didn't think about that before. Or you can institute harsh penalties for treason and make people too frightened to cross you. That's stupid. You're stupid. How is that gonna... No, we want more guards. I need more guards. I have to be safe. As you wish. Yeah. What were we doing? Ew, look at all that yielding. Let's go to the grove and get rid of our afraid. Because afraid... I don't think afraid helps anything. It must help something, but it's annoying. So I kept studying internal affairs and foreign intelligence, and like I said, I don't even remember if that helped. Um, but I was thinking it would. So probably you could study whatever you wanted this week. Probably. I'm reading this. Huh. He defied tradition to pledge himself as the life mate of the old Duke of Ursul, then broke that off only a year later. Life mate? Like spouse? Like gay? Is this the second gay pairing? Because the Duchess of Ursul, or Juliana, is in a girlfriend relationship with Celine. So, huh. That's interesting, I guess. I don't know anything about this. This is what happens whenever you start reading stuff during a Let's Play. I should stop that. It's budget time. We don't have any accounting, so we're just going to keep them the same. I think raising taxes makes commoners unhappy, and lowering taxes will mean we have less money to go around, and we kind of need our money, so we're keeping taxes the same. Let's go get rid of our depression. And skills, we're going to say keep doing intrigue, so we're going to do foreign intelligence and some more ciphering. I really think I was trying to get, that's what it was, I was trying to get ciphering so that I could read the subtext in Brianny's letters, but that never happened. You requested to stand in judgment. Man killed his wife. This is that Lumen guy, but we have no Lumen training. So one time I pardoned him. This time we're going to imprison him. Whether there were demons or not, you still killed your wife. You're going to prison. Yes, Your Majesty. Good. Job well done. And don't get me started. It is totally unclear to me why Juliana is not following us around, helping us with this stuff. Because, or even if we were to get, of course, in order to get Lucille as a Lumen Prime Minister, I think we would have had to have enough sense magic to sense that that guy was a Lumen in the first place. But part of running a government involves getting skilled people and surrounding yourself with them and having them help with stuff like this, because you can't be all things to all people. You can't be the best magic user in the world and the best swords person in the world and the best archer in the world, all of those things at once. You could be maybe one of those or maybe two of those things, but you can't be all of them. And so it's kind of irksome to me that I have all these people who are supposedly skilled in magic and stuff like that, and I don't say, hey, you know what? You need to be in on this, and you need to give me advice, and, you know, just, this country, it's a miracle that worser stuff doesn't happen. Let's go to the service. Calm our heart. We could use some heart calming. So yeah, all that internal affairs and foreign intelligence was to get past that 25 peak so I could do more ciphering. I think we unlocked an outfit, and I'm not sure if it's one you've seen. So this is the intrigue cat suit, and it has a monocle, which is just awesome. Love that. But I wanted, well, no, I think we only needed 60 in herbs. But neither here nor there. I'm gonna throw the nurse's gown back on just to be sure. That gives us 70, but I think I only need 60. Classes, we're going to do ciphering. Almost at 90, so we're at 80. You receive word that a murderer you condemned to prison has escaped. Explosion set a lot of dangerous criminals free, and it falls to the Royal Treasury to repair the damage. So, yeah, that guy is just nothing but trouble. You can either free him, at which point he probably goes off and kills more people, who knows, or you can imprison him, which doesn't work out well, or you can try to execute him, which also doesn't work out well. So, yeah. Let's go talk to Juliana. My father says I can't have the crystal until I'm queen, so we'll just have to wait. There may not be time to wait. The world is filled with dangers, and you need the powers of Lumen to fight them. You can't even begin your training until you've bonded with a crystal. Well, what am I supposed to do about it? It's probably in the treasury. You should find a way inside. So, fine, we'll try to find a way. There's a willful. We could use a willful, so that worked out well. Skills, throw in another ciphering. That should be enough to get us to 100. And another internal affairs. There. So now y'all are my witness. I am 100 in ciphering, and if these letters were containing something that could be unlocked by ciphering, then I can't figure it out. So, and I just wasted all that time. So all that time I went doing internal affairs and foreign affairs and ciphering after we got to the 40 that we needed for that skill check was literally just a huge waste of time, and you can spend all that time training in something else. And in fact, I encourage you to spend all that time training in something else. So anyway, Fabian died. Fabian, remember Fabian? We talked to him in Let's Play number 2, and he was so sweet. Young Lord Adair will not reach his 15th birthday for over 2 years. He requires a regent. His stepmother Reese has petitioned that the boy be left in her care, but that would leave her in personal control of 2 neighboring duchies, which is generally forbidden. So, the Earl of Ishtar has suggested another possibility. You and Adair are both young and not too far apart in age. He's a little bit younger than us. He requests that we accept the boy as your future husband and keep him here at the castle. So, we can leave him with Reese, which you're not supposed to do legally because that would leave her in charge of 2 huge duchies neighboring each other, and that's kind of a conflict of interest. You can send him to his grandfather, which I can tell you right now will get him killed. It's not his grandfather's fault, I don't think, but they're on the border of Talaise, and Talaise like, whoops, shoots an arrow over there and kills him. You can send him to your uncle, which makes Reese angry, and I really don't know if anything good or bad happens from that, but probably something bad. Or we can bring him to the castle and marry him. We are not betrothed to anybody, and he's mostly our age, and we have a lot in common, right? Because we both just had somebody die, so let's marry him. I'll marry him! I like how Lydia, okay, I'll marry him! At least that way I won't get stuck with an old man. Awesome. Dad says you can't actually marry him until he's old enough, but he will be brought here to live as your companion. So, okay. We need to go to the treasury and try to get our crystal. But of course, presence fails, accounting fails, we get angry and willful. You try to talk your way past the treasury guards, but despite eyelash fluttering, foot stomping, and outright threats, they won't budge. Humph. Humph indeed. It's almost like I'm not queen around here. And we need to go ahead and save the game. There we are. We have a little boy coming, and I just realized that we need to bond with him. So he likes animals, and I know that from out of character knowledge. So and we don't need, but we could get 70 in horses for this Briony run. That, like I said, the 30 dance is the failsafe for that. But I wanted to be careful. So horses it is. And I don't know when we passed it, but usually a week or 2 ago, there's like a dirty poem about us doing naughty things with a squid. We didn't get that this time, so that's good, I guess. I don't know what triggers that. And I only know that we missed it because usually whenever we say there's a court musician, Elodie thinks, I wonder if she wrote that dirty poem. We have enough intrigue to know that magicians are often used as secret agents and messengers. They can be useful and dangerous. But we don't have enough instrument or voice to figure out that she's actually crappy as a musician and therefore probably a spy. I don't want to spend the money on a musician who isn't a good musician and a spy who I don't realize is a spy, so off she goes. Let's go to the services and get an angry shaved off. And Sorry, what is that? That's the pressured face, right? Yes, pressure is our so our face is not doing so good. Um, Classes, horses, more of that. Horses 30, horses 40. Dad says, "How is Adaris settling into life at the castle? Because, I mean, his grandfather just died, and this is a brand new thing, and he's just been brought here to marry the queen. That would be kind of scary, right?" And Elodie says, "I found him in the garden trying to catch frogs. So I showed him a few tricks, animal handling success, and a +1 to cheerfulness." And I think the alternative is if you fail this, he's a little intimidated and frightened of us. But now he's less so because we taught him how to catch frogs. And I think that's sweet. You know, like, I'm sad that he doesn't have a face. Does he have a face? I never see his face. But, so I don't know that he has a face. But I'm gonna wiki it while I'm talking about him. But I think it's sort of sad that if you think about it, he's a lot like Elodie in the sense that he just had somebody close to him die that he cared about, a parental figure. You know, it just, now he's overwhelmed by this reality of his future. He's gonna be married to some girl he barely even knows, maybe has never even met us before, and she's gonna be the one with the power. I don't think he's gonna be king. He's gonna be king consort. There's a lot of scary in that. And no, it looks like he doesn't have a face. So, you know, that's sad too. 'Cause he deserves a face. But anyway, we showed him how to catch frogs, so that's something. And the dad says, "I'm sure you'll work things out together." So, not together, but that's what he means. Animals is helped by depression. So for the first time in forever, we need to get our cheerful down. So off you go, cheerful. It's kind of weird that animals is helped by depression, but I mean, I can see how animals would relieve depression, but it's just kind of weird to be like, oh, if you're cheerful, you don't learn how to handle animals nearly as well. But it is what it is. Classes, we can't learn much more about horses, so it's time to do falcons and dogs. 12 in dogs and 12 in falcons. And we missed a divination. Ugh, and we're cheerful again. Crap. Let's go sit in on court sessions. That'll give us a depression. Skills. Classes, we'll do dogs and falcons again. Oh, good. That was just enough to get us over 25 in both of them. Good, good, good. And we unlocked a new outfit. Talaris, bad news. The Duke of Sedna has instituted high tariffs and trade restrictions at the Elaf border. We didn't really cultivate good relations with the Duke of Sedna because we didn't marry him. And I'm not sure if there was another way to... This is the first time I remember seeing this. But I'm not sure if there was another way to make him happy. Business is disrupted and there are growing shortages of supplies, so I guess send emergency aid? The Royal Treasury will pay to keep people fed. Now that's the kind of ruler that I can get behind. We don't let people starve. Good. Let it be said here and now that Elodie thinks people are entitled to food. I agree with her. Good. What were we doing? I don't know. I have another court session in my notes, so that's what we'll do. I'm guessing I was trying to get my yielding up, or maybe my pressured up. They're both almost completely maxed, and I got depressed, so that's good. For animal handling. Oh, and I should show you the new outfit. This was animal handling. We have a we have a hunting coat with a little hunting hat. And yeah, we're not gonna stay in that. What were we wearing? We were wearing the nurse's gown. Just can't get past that. Okay, horses, more horses. You may now hunt on the weekends. Here we are. 70. That was what we needed. Special maneuvers, backing up or maneuvering in tight quarters. My lady, there are letters for you. Another letter from Bryony, or Briony. Why does she keep writing me? We were never even friends. There, you saw it here. If there are secret messages in those letters, ciphering is not getting it for us because we have 100 in ciphering. She says she's bored and lonely and she's looking forward to seeing me at Gwinnell's birthday party. That's right, Gwinnell. Maybe you had to get ciphering, like, back before the first letter. I'm gonna have to Google it. Gwinnell is about to turn 15. She'll be the Duchess of Sudbury for real now. The other letter must be my invitation to her birthday celebration. Gwinnell and I were friends at school, and this will be a big event, but it's also a long way to travel, and a lot of things can happen on the road. But we are going because we have guards. So we're going to go to the birthday party for, I think, the first time in one of my Let's Plays. So that's exciting. And I guess I wanted pressure up because now I'm trying to get willful down. So off we go to... Maybe I was... Oh, I know. I was using court session to get depressed for the horses, but that screwed with my pressured and yielding, so now I'm sneaking out to get rid of that. Okay. Whatever it takes. So let me see here. We needed 30 dance or 70 horses. We've got both of those. We needed 70 lore. Actually, I think we needed 60 lore. We needed 60 or 70 herbs. Not sure which, but we've got 70 effectively. We should be good. We should be good for the Briony run. So I'm going to do a save. We should be good. We should be good. And now we can study other things. And I'm going to study meditation. This was... Oops. This was me going... Hey, I'm good now. Let's just do something fun. You know, because meditation and divination, those seem like good things to have. They helped us in the last playthrough. So off we go on our little meditation shiny. Don't really recommend doing this, by the way. On your journey to Sudbury, your carriage is attacked by bandits. Sent by Lucille. Just saying. Luckily, your bandit bodyguards are well prepared for such an event and managed to drive off the attackers. You were inconvenienced and annoyed, but not harmed. And we also got an angry. Gwinnell's party is lovely. This is the same backdrop as the one we had for the gala. Gwinnell's party is lovely, not nearly as glamorous as your own upcoming birthday will be, of course, but it's still a major event on the noble social calendar. Everyone who is anyone is present. Uncle Laurent and your younger cousins are here, but Charlotte and her mother are not. Apparently Charlotte was ill. So, apparently. There are refreshments and dancers and musicians and polite conversation and one or two not so polite. This is Leek, Countess of Dis, who looks just like Lucille, Countess of Nyx. So I'm not sure if that was like reuse of art or if they're supposed to actually be related somehow. And she's saying, I will not be shoved aside. Gwinnell, Duchess of Sudbury, who just turned 15 as an illegal adult, said, Mother, it's my domain now. I need space for myself. You have your own lands to manage. Just because you're of age doesn't mean you know everything, young lady. You need my advice. This is my home. It has never been yours. Before you can back away, their gazes fall on you. They wait expectantly for you as near queen to settle the dispute. We have no flattery, so we can't side with both of them. And after all this horribleness with Lucille, I'm ready to believe that all the adults in this game are terrible people, so I'm going to side with Gwinnell because she's my age and I feel like that's something I would do. Willful, you heard her. She's an adult now and she's in charge here. Thank you. You're welcome, Gwinnell. Leek says, is this what your father will face upon your coronation? Cast aside without another word? And that gave us a depression. And Elodie thinks he's not going to like hearing that, is he? But, you know, I would point out here that your dad has not actually been useful. So and in fact has kept us from having our lumen crystals, so maybe being cast aside would be good for him for a week or two. Anyway, a bit later, Brienne catches up with you, and we've heard so much about her, but this will be our first time to see her. And she has green hair and green eyes and shiny, sparkly earrings. Brienne, Lady Mead. Hello, Elodie. It's so wonderful that you're going to be queen now. I mean, I am sorry about your mother. Elodie says, thanks. But think of the opportunities you're going to have. You're so lucky. That's an odd way of putting it. Anyway, I was wondering, now that you're almost queen and everything, have they told you all the secrets? What secrets? Like how to get into the old palace. I've heard it's packed full of treasure. So there's our lore. You mean the old capital by Cathry Lake, the abandoned one? Exactly. They had to leave in a hurry, so they left all kinds of treasure behind. And nobody ever goes there because the forest is supposed to be haunted, so the treasure's probably still there. Elodie says, the forest isn't haunted, it's full of monsters like the Keithong. But what if she's right, and it is full of ancient treasure? Which it may be, because I know in our previous walkthrough when we talked to Juliana, she said you can't destroy lumen crystals, and so they're all like in a pile somewhere, so maybe they're there. So we're going to offer to help. I don't know any secrets about getting into the old palace yet, but if you can come back to the castle with me, we can check the archives. Great, I knew you could help. I'm supposed to go back to school, but I was already planning to sneak off. I'll ditch my escort, sneak ahead, and meet you at the castle. This could be fun! I'm sure it will be, Elodie. So now we've taken the first step towards running off with Elodie. So that's exciting. Let's go hunting. We've never hunted before, and plus it would take away our angry and give us a cheerful, which we could use. So, oh god, you take out some of your frustrations on helpless prey animals. You now feel somewhat happier and less angry. And I mentioned last time when we were talking about how you need cruelty in order to sacrifice Charlotte, that one of the ways to gather a little bit of cruelty is to go hunting while you're angry. So yeah, I'd forgotten about that. Oops. Skills. We're doing so well on faith, so I thought, hey, let's take some divination. That seems like a good thing to have. Again, this is the part of the playthrough that I don't really necessarily recommend following. Okay, here we are. Elodie, I found a bunch of maps of the area around Cathry Lake. Brienne, great! I also found reports on all sorts of really nasty monsters down there. That was hundreds of years ago. The palace was abandoned hundreds of years ago. The reports never stopped. I can't find anyone who's gone into the old forest and come back. And Brienne says, well, if it is full of treasure, would you want to tell someone how you got in and stole some? Which, Brienne makes a good point there. Look, I know it's dangerous. I'm not stupid. But you and I are educated noblewomen, not peasants. It's not like we're 15 or anything. Stop treating me like a child. Okay. Brienne, you're so adorable. I'm good with a sword and a bow. And you? Don't you have magic powers now that you're queen? Because we haven't unlocked our lumen crystal. So come with me. It'll be an awesome adventure. Our parents are going to be so impressed. Now, if you had a conversation check here, you could ask her more about her parents, and I wish that we had, because in fact, ideally, I would totally recommend going back and not studying meditation and not studying divination and studying conversation instead, because the adventure turns out the same, but how it affects your mood is kind of different. But anyway, barreling forward, I'm not really supposed to run off on my own. I wonder if we should save scum that back. Let's... What month is this? Or what week is this? This is week... Oh, this is such a pain. You can't flip through to we'll save here. And if I can, at the end, I will try to come back and, if I remember, and do one with conversation, see what happens. So that was back in week, I think 28 was when we started doing all that meditation that we didn't need. So, anyway, rather than stop grind to a halt right now, we'll keep going. Go with Brienne. Or send her alone or tell her not to go or ask about it. Oh! Maybe we have the chance to ask, but we didn't have conversation. What happens? Brienne, what is going on with you and your family? Nothing. Really, nothing. Ever since Uncle Kevin moved in, my parents don't want anything to do with me. I'm an adult now, you know. Technically, she's 16. And they still say I have to be at school all the time. I'm the heir. I should be spending time in Mead. When did your uncle move in? I don't know. A few years ago, after Gran's divorce. Internal affairs failure. The Duchess of Lilla divorced her second husband, and then he died. He would have been the stepfather of Brienne's mother and uncle. That must have been a stressful time for your family. Yeah, I'm sure, but so what? That was years ago. They've had plenty of time to get over it. I just want them to pay attention to me. If I find the lost treasures of Nova, they have to notice. You've already run away from school. If they don't notice that, they won't notice anything. You mean it's hopeless? No, I mean, all you need to do is stay here and wait. Getting into more trouble won't make a difference. Oh, I guess maybe you're right. Thanks, Elodie. You're smarter than I remembered. I never... Oh, wow. I didn't play through that. I just barreled on into the forest with her. And so now I don't know what happens. We'll keep going until Brienne's mom comes to collect her, and then we'll back up and actually show you the forest. That's interesting. I don't know what to do for the weekend. Let's just go to the services. It doesn't really matter because I'm planning to reload, so we'll say divination and meditation, max those out. The Duchess of Mead is here to see you, so I've not seen this before. Elodie, where is my daughter? Which daughter? You know very well that I only have one. I think that was kind of a throwback to when Kevin said that someone had tried to marry or to kill his sister, and he said, which sister? Because he had two. You know very well that I only have one. Really, Mother? Because sometimes I think you don't have one at all. Brienne, thank goodness you're all right. Oh, now you care? You certainly didn't want to see me before. You haven't let me come home in ages. Brienne, darling, there are things you don't understand. I don't understand because you never tell me anything. The Duchess sighs and embraces her daughter. Very well. If that's what it will take, come home with me and I will explain everything. Looks like everything worked out for the best. Aw, that's awesome. We're gonna reload and do the forest adventure. But this is so weird because it says we failed the conversation test. I don't know. We're gonna go with Brienne. But I recommend, very strongly recommend, asking about Brienne's parents again instead, because that was a lot nicer than what's gonna happen to us. But I wanted y'all to be able to see the forest adventure. Go with Brienne. Alright, we can take horses from the royal stables and sneak out before anyone notices. And this is the forest. Look at the pretty forest. You are easily able to avoid pursuit as you travel south through the wetlands of Caloris. There is no guard around the borders of the old forest. There isn't any need for one. Caloris is soaked in lore until the stain is permanent. Even an illiterate fisher child knows better. Which, again, continuing with this, we're noble women, we're smart, you know, not a common, yeah, over there. I will have you know, Elodie, that Alice knows more about your kingdom than you do at times. Which I think the game acknowledges that. Like right here. You are young and innocent, brave and strong, true heroes. Of course you are. Elodie, hey, this isn't so bad. It's kind of dark, but that's just because there's so much moss on the trees. It's pretty. It's like lace curtains. And it's quiet. You could build a secret hideaway here. And it's not too dark when the will-o-wisps are out. Little sparkly lights. Don't you think, Brienne? Briony? No, we failed a sense magic test there, but I've read that it's just for flavor text and it doesn't really affect anything, so that's okay. You turn to look at your companion and find her pinned against a tree, her eyes bulging wide, her fingernails clawing at the thick black ribbons which have wrapped around her body and mouth. Let her go! You are armed, but you can't slash wildly at the tendrils without harming Briony more than the beast which holds her. Herbs! There has to be some way to force it to release her. In a panic, you slide off your horse, grab up a handful of stinging nettles, not even feeling the pain, and rub them against the black tentacles. You hear a tearing sound, and the monster's ropey arms convulse, allowing Briony to fall to the forest floor. Unfortunately, the horses, now free of their riders, bolt and leave you alone with an angry, tentacled thing. Whoops! Run! +10 to afraid. Oops! Run! Grabbing Briony's hand, you tear through the brush, heading back in the direction you came as best you can. Running! Success! The murk of the forest seems to close around you, and it's difficult to tell where you're going. Horses! Success! Frantically, you whistle for your horses. They've been well trained. Once they're out of immediate danger, they should respond to commands. After a few minutes of sheer terror, you are able to reclaim your steeds and flee to safer environs. Now, I didn't show it because I would have had to train slightly differently, but if you don't pass the horse check, I believe... Hold on. I believe that dancing will save you here instead. That was the dancing 30. But I haven't had a chance to see it, so I can't prove that. So hey, we go back to the castle. The two of you managed to return to the castle safely before the week's end, but with no time for any extra activities. Which... I don't know about you, but I'm disappointed. Because I'd seen the Briony adventure touted as some like impossible thing, which it clearly was. I mean, I would not have been able to pass it without knowing in advance what skills were needed and training from the very get-go for that. But for all that it was hyped up, that was not very cool. Like, it was realistic. We took 5 steps in and almost immediately got killed. So believable, but not really that fun. We didn't even bring back any treasure or anything, or learn, you know, important Novan history secrets. So I'm sad about that. But anyway, so at this point, my mental sort of situation last night was, yay! I got the Briony adventure that I wanted so badly, and here it's week 40, and we've got, oh holy crap, we've got like 10 weeks, less than 10 weeks before that guy invades Nova, and there's a naval battle, and then he challenges us to a duel, and then we die. And we have no voice, so we can't sing our way out of it, and we have no magic, so we can't fight our way out of it. We don't even have our crystal, because we have no presence. So, oops. So, this is where I started, like, save scumming, like, whoa, to try to find some kind of ending that was an actual ending and not just me dying. And the way to do that is to up composure. So, I'm now going to start frantically training in composure, which has an afraid penalty, but must have some kind of like yielding bonus because it didn't hurt us too bad. Elodie, where is my daughter? I'm right here. Briony, what happened to you? Your clothes, your skin. Well, you see, there was this nasty thing with tentacles, and it sort of grabbed me. You went to the old forest. What were you thinking? You could have been killed. But Elodie rescued me. Briony's mother turns to glare at you. You were there with her? Why didn't you talk her out of any of this? Which, hello, we don't have talking out of skills, so, psh. I kept her safe, didn't I? Anger. She's a hero, Mother. There is no such thing. Only fools risking their lives for no good reason. Come on, young lady, we're going home. Yes, Mother. So you see, like I told you, the talk to her about her parents, option is way better than this one. The Duchess of Mead leads her daughter away, and you sigh. Dad, you should not have risked your life to chase after your friend. What would have happened to Nova if you had died? Well, but if Brienne goes off to get killed, then Kevin tries to kill us and blames us for it, even though we had no control over it whatsoever. So, anyway. You have responsibilities. You cannot act on your every whim. Your mother gave her life for this domain. How can you disrespect her memory like this? Fine, I'm sorry. +5 to pressured. In your heart, you know he's only yelling at you because he loves you and he was afraid for you, but at the moment that doesn't lessen the sting. Oh, that's sad. We need to get our afraid up. And I don't... Let's go hunting. Watching prey animals be captured and killed puts your own problems in perspective. You feel less afraid, but a bit more sad. That's terrible. We need more composure, so... Off we go with composure. As you're walking through the hall, a freak gust of wind suddenly blows out all the candles. Divination! An omen of war and danger. There's no sign where the danger is coming from, so there's nothing you can do about it. Let's attend service. I really don't want to get more depressed. That'll take off an afraid. Skills, we can't do more composure until we get some elegance and some presence. So, off we go with that. Things have been so unsettled lately. Let's have a tournament. We will do employment because then they swell the ranks of the army and we need more army because people are going to invade. Oh, eyes fall upon a vase of flowers. Pretty, but apparently not getting enough water. The leaves on one blossom have shriveled. Divination, a leaf killed by a secret weakness, a hidden threat. You continue up the stairs to your room where a maid is waiting for you. My lady, a gift has arrived from Kegel. From the Duke? No, from a merchant house. And it's chocolates! Now, if we hadn't... Look at all that failure. Production, trade failed, court managers failed, dogs failed. If we hadn't had the divination, and if we hadn't had the dogs... I mean, we didn't have the dogs, but the dogs was another option. If we hadn't had the divination, we would have just nommed the candies. But the divination opened up save it for later. The dog opens up save it for later. We're not going to eat the candies. I don't feel like candy right now. Maybe later. The other stuff just sort of... The trade and production and court manners is kind of like, this doesn't feel right. But it still doesn't open up save it for later. Castle Grove, afraid. Take that off. We're slowly getting to not be quite so awful on elegance and presence. Hey, we unlocked a new outfit for that. And this is the week of the general tournament. What should we do? We're not good at jousting or fencing or archery or music or falconry, but we can ride a horse, dang it. So, off we go on the mounted parade. You choose to lead the parade mounted on a brilliant white horse. You do, of course, know how to ride, and it is not difficult to follow a well-marked procession. Something we can do, finally! After the tournament, a minor tragedy is revealed. One of the stewards apparently had an incredible sweet tooth and dared to steal a piece of your recently received chocolates. He had a sweet tooth. Those chocolates were poisoned. When you ask questions, it turns out the merchant house which supposedly sent you this present never existed. Afraid. Someone had tried to kill you, but you don't know who. So, when Kevin tried to kill us last time, I was thinking it was because of the chocolates. And instead it was actually because Brienne went off and got herself killed, and apparently it was our fault for not knowing that she would go off and get herself killed and somehow stopping her. Which, you know what, Kevin can just... Everyone in this universe, I swear. Coronet, here we are. Skills. We need more composure, and we can train in that again. So off we go with composure. And we still have our pressured face. Composure! My lady, your father wishes to speak with you. He says it's urgent. Fine, I'm coming. There's ships coming. Great. We have to fight. You can try to use treasury funds to hire additional soldiers. It may be tough on short notice. Recruit them. Do it. We need to drop a naval strategy. You could act as the admiral, but the danger to you would be very great. Unless you think your personal skills will make a difference, I strongly advise against this. We have no naval battle skills, so we'll stay in the capital. Do your best and Nova will survive. We're afraid again, so we're gonna go pray, which I also think is in character when an army is coming in. And skills, we need to keep upping the composure, and we need presence, because I would like to get our lumen crystal. So composure, presence, battle on the high seas. Now, in the number 2 plus Let's Play, the one where we summon Cthulhu, I thought that I had enough skills to demonstrate a naval battle win without using the lumens to wipe out the fleet. And I used the lumens to wipe out the fleet because we wanted to see Cthulhu. But I thought, you know, I've got naval strategy, I've got climbing, we should be good. And somebody said, well, why didn't you go back and show the naval battle? And I said, well, to be honest, I ran out of, I didn't think of it. The video was 2.5 hours long already, sorry. So I went back thinking that if I won the naval battle, then I could make a little short video of that and you could all see. Because I was pretty sure I had all the skills you need. I had the climbing, had the, you know, all that good stuff. Short answer, no. And so I checked the wiki, because I didn't win without using the lumens magic combination thing. In addition to passing the climbing and naval strategy tests, and in addition to hiring soldiers, which I'd done all that, you also have to build more ships. And the only way, looked it up on the wiki, the only way to build more ships is you have to pass a logistics and trade check on week 25, or you need to have directed your agents to seek foreign threats on week 18, which I had totally planned to do, but then hadn't realized I needed that intrigue check, and so we had missed that in the Let's Play number 2, and choosing to build more ships. You can receive aid from a foreign nation, and you would think that the fact that I was betrothed to the Duke of Talais would have done that, but apparently not. So there's apparently another way to get ships from a foreign nation that I didn't unlock in the Let's Play number 2. So the short version of that is, when I said in the Let's Play number 2, I have enough skills to pass this battle if it weren't for the fact that we were using the Lumen combination ritual. A, that was wrong. And B, you literally cannot win this battle if you don't have enough ships. Which leads me to C, that kind of pisses me off. Like, I understand it's a game and there's gonna be some stuff that you just can't do. Like, I get that. But at the same time, gosh darn it, like, it's annoying to me that we have an invading force, and the fact that I went out and, like, blasted the crap out of their ships as a cannon, and then can't, you know, retreat back. You know, so basically, dart out, blow up some stuff, come back, and then wait for them with my hella big army on the shore. Like, they've still got to, you know, disembark and actually march to the capital. And apparently all those extra soldiers that we hired, because we were hiring soldiers left and right, apparently we just shoved them all into a ship, which is not how I would have done things. So I don't know, it kind of irks me that even if you lose the naval battle, like, I get losing the naval battle because you don't have enough ships, I get that, but it was frustrating to me that the march to the capital is, there's no checks on that. Like I feel like there should be a ship check on the naval battle, and then there should be an army check on the march to the capital, because it's frankly stupid that we loaded every single soldier we have, apparently, into these ships, and if the ships go down, then the entire army is lost. Like, why would you do that? Now, you know, okay, it's game, and there may even be, you know, historical stupidity involved, but at the same time, it's frustrating that there's not even an option. And especially it seems kind of pointless, because it's like, if you don't have enough ships, then everything else you did for the rest of the game is pointless here. And that seems like a huge waste. You know, there should have been, in my opinion, a march to the Capitol, army check, or, you know, I don't know, Lumen Noble check or something. But no. So basically, I will even quote from the wiki: if you don't have enough ships, you will always lose. Period. So, I'm kind of bummed out about that. And we don't have enough ships. So, and even the Sanjians have half again as many troops as you do. It doesn't look promising. The eventual outcome is not in your favor. The Novan ships are sunk and scattered. Blah blah blah. There we go. We didn't have enough ships. We lost. I guess we'll go to church. And we'll keep studying presence. Because I don't know if you remember, but to get your Lumen Crystal, you have to have a presence of 70. The invasion of Nova is proceeding. Your coastline is under Sanjian control. Soldiers have marched through villages, trampling fields and frightening citizens. A diplomatic delegation from Sanjia has requested access to the castle to discuss terms, most likely for your surrender. You lack the strength to hold off their armies, and surrendering now will save many lives. It would seem that you have no choice. You prepare yourself as best you can to meet with the representatives from Sanjia. You expected diplomats and a military representative, a general or an admiral. You did not expect the handsome man decked in jewels who now stands before you, a man announced by your servants as Togami, king of Sanjia. And we don't have foreign intelligence or a world history. And she says, is he really their king? Why would a king come all the way here? If we had passed those, she would have said king consort, more like. He's just a commoner who married his way onto the throne. My dear young lady, and we can't sense he is a magician, how difficult this must be for you. So much responsibility at such a tender age. Compose your success. You yearn to slap the false sympathy off his oily face, but you force yourself to remain calm. War benefits no one, don't you think? Such a terrible waste. Better to settle things in a civilized manner. A contest, a game, so to speak, with Nova as the stakes. Should I win, then your domain will submit and accept me as overlord with no further resistance. Should I lose, then my army will leave your domain in peace and shed no more blood. What sort of game? It is well known that Nova is ruled by lumens. As it happens, I too possess the powers of a lumen. I propose a formal duel. My powers against yours. The winner takes control of Nova, and the loser dies. But I'm not a lumen! We never could get to our crystal in time! Saving it for the coronation, were you? Such a pity that you'll be unprepared. Well then, go and find your crystal. Becoming a lumen is a very simple matter. Then we can have our duel. What's the point? You know I can't win. Why don't you just kill me now? Because that's not the game. You want to save your people, don't you? I want to fight a lumen. If you refuse, then the war will continue. I'll sweeten the deal. If you meet me in a formal lumen challenge, I'll call the invasion off, even if I win. So he's saying that... Well, he's saying that if we meet him in a formal lumen challenge, then they'll leave the country alone. I don't know that we can trust him. Really? I swear it by the gods. Nova will be free and safe. Why take that risk? You're winning the war. It's not your land I want. It's your crystal. To gain your power, I am willing to wager my own. Shall we begin? Since magic failed, I don't like this, but what choice do I have? And you really don't. If you refuse outright, he just kills you, and you get a death animation. So we'll say, okay, fine, I'll accept your terms. Then I must. And your dad leaps forward and says, No, not my little girl. You want to fight the Lumen ruler of Nova? Your father reaches into his pocket and pulls out a shimmering blue crystal, which he places over his heart. Illuminate! So I had said in a previous playthrough that your father was also a lumen, and that was wrong. I was confused. He's not a Lumen. He's had no Lumen training at all. He's as much a Lumen as Elodie is right now, which is to say not at all. But he has a crystal because they're passed down from family to family and they don't disintegrate or get destroyed. So he's right now becoming a Lumen. So he's had no training either because you can't train without a crystal. Your hair stands on end as a veil of blue sparkles settles over your father, crawling into his skin. When it's over, the jewel has been absorbed into his body without a trace. Fight me. Leave her alone. Well, this is not what I expected, but it will serve my purposes just as well. And Elodie says, Daddy? Be quiet, Elodie. You are not a queen yet. You are forced to sit and watch as the two men work out the details of the duel and its stakes, then take their places in a carefully warded circle. Your father crosses his arms, summoning up a thick gray fog that swirls around him, hiding him from view. But the Sonjian king conjures a cloud of glowing butterflies, which dive into the fog and blow it apart. Then the invader claps his hands together and chants. Fiery red lights cluster over his fingertips and merge together in a pulsing blob before erupting towards your father. He resists with a beam of blue, catching the infernal energy and pushing it back in Togami's direction. You knew what the outcome would be. You knew it all along. Togami is a trained Lumen, eager to demonstrate his powers, and your father was your father, and we just got a +10 to depression. The blue crystal reappears, lying beside your father's body like an innocently discarded bauble, but now that blue color is colored by a faint wash of red, which I guess is the game's way of saying that Togami has managed to alter the disposition of the crystal, because his crystal magic was red. The smirking king of Sanjia sweeps the crystal off the floor and tucks it away into his robes. How fitting. First I end your mother's life, and then your father's. Which... what? Because your dad said magic stopped her heart. And Elodie, you what? Angry. You didn't think her death was an accident, did you? That took careful planning. And now the Novan power is mine, and you even get to live. He holds a hand out in front of him, the elegant robe dangling freely. Now kneel and kiss my hand. Now, we just had a composure success there. And I'm going to save while I talk. If you hadn't had composure, then Elodie would have screamed no and flung herself at him, I don't know, trying to kill him, and she would have gotten killed and we would have had a death animation. But we did have a composure test, and this is really the only way that I could figure out to survive this battle, because we spent all that time training for the Briony run, did no training whatsoever for the what would come after, which really makes the Briony run especially disappointing because we got nothing out of it, and then we're totally unprepared, and now we've gotten our dad killed. And the only way to survive this is to submit to this ruler and I guess pretend to be an ally or a satellite state of his country. So you stare at that horrible hand hovering before you. You have a choice. You can obey or you can refuse. And if we refuse, we will die. It won't save our kingdom. It won't bring our dad back to life. And, you know, our dad, who, you know, I keep calling useless, and surely he could have made a lot better life choices. I feel that still very strongly. But our dad just got himself killed to keep us alive. So it seems kind of wrong to throw that away. So we have the choice, we're gonna obey. Swallowing your pride, you kneel and press your lips to the backs of his cold fingers. And he says, "Good girl. As I promised, the invasion will end, and my men and I will return across the sea. Unless one of you is so foolish as to attack me, then all deals are off." No one stirs, and he says, "Pity." So, theoretically, we're still an independent state, and he really was just coming here for the crystal. That was what he wanted. That was all he wanted. And he wanted my mother's crystal, our mother's crystal, and instead he took our father's crystal. But he, feels like that's good enough. So, what we're gonna do is, well, my thought was, when this all happened and went down, my thought was that we would go to the treasury and get our crystal, because clearly this can't wait any longer. The Nova needs a Lumen with Lumen's powers in case this guy comes back next week. So we went to visit the treasury. We have presents. You order the guards to stand aside and walk through. But I guess presumably because we've had this plot point, we don't find the crystal. So, okay, a little disappointing there. The way I'm playing Elodie right now is she's very depressed. We're about to have a coronation. I think we'll make it to coronation. It's like 3 weeks. We're about to have a coronation coming. So I said, okay, let's study elegance so we look good at coronation. I imagine her trying to get through this and do the right thing as leader of the country, and trying to honor her father's memory. And we have a depression penalty, but we're still learning at 1587. So the war has ended and Sandias have withdrawn. All throughout Nova, a fragile layer of calm lies over a deeper pit of uncertainty and fear. Rumors have sprung up among the common people that you struck some unholy bargain with King Togami, that you promised him the soul of your firstborn child, and that you ritually sacrificed a village boy for him, and that you killed your own father because he protested. Which, none of that is what happened. It makes no difference what they believe. It's too late to change things now. So, Elodie's full on depressed. There's no... Let's go visit Juliana. I was planning to visit her with our crystal, but we don't have our crystal, so we're gonna visit Juliana. And here's where I get very pissy at Juliana. Elodie says, "I can't believe it. All this time, my father was a Lumen." And Juliana says, "No, he was not." "What do you mean?" "Your father carried a crystal, but he had never bonded with it until that day when he was forced to defend you. It must have been passed down in his family. The line of Caloris is well educated in the lore of the past. So his crystal wasn't a royal Novan crystal. It was a minor duchy crystal, for, whether that makes a difference or not. Had you been only his heir and not the Princess of Nova, perhaps he would have taught you differently. There's so much he never told you, and now you'll never know." Elodie's angry. "Why didn't you help him? If he wasn't a Lumen until just that moment, you knew he had no chance. Why didn't you fight against Togami? Isn't that what you're supposed to be here for?" And Juliana says, "Did you not listen? That man came to claim the power of the Novan royal crystal. Togami accepted your father's challenge because your father was the king. Therefore he believed incorrectly that he had found the prize he was looking for. My challenge would not have satisfied him." And Elodie says, "That's just an excuse." And you know what? I'm kind of there with Elodie, because, okay, maybe he wouldn't have accepted Juliana's challenge. But for the love of Pete, when a magician king waltzes into the Capitol and starts throwing his magic around, Juliana is supposed to be like super, super strong in magic. Like, there's all these playthroughs where you piss her off and she kills you or she escapes. You know, I mean, she's not too shabby at this magic stuff. And she stood by and watched an amateur sacrifice himself and would have stood by and watched us sacrifice ourselves rather than step forward and use her magic to potentially defeat this guy. And okay, he would have still had an army with him, but you know what? He still had an army with him in the playthroughs, in a potential hypothetical playthrough in which we kill him. So, you know, if I can kill him and the kingdom can recover, then Juliana could have killed him and the kingdom could have recovered. But she was happier to roll the dice, let him kill our dad or kill us, and just assume he would keep his word and leave with his soldiers. And, like, to me, that is useless. You know, like you, Juliana, Duchess of Ursul, are useless. Why are you even here? So, yeah, I'm not happy about that at all. And it's frustrating because I really liked her prior to this, and now I don't. So, because she got our useless dad killed. You're both useless. Elodie, that's just an excuse. Juliana pulls a really weak trump card. You have no idea what others have sacrificed in your name. Do not presume to criticize. You know what? Just off you go. You live and your crystal is safe. You may take up your powers at your coronation as planned. Then if you wish, we can train you in the strength you will need to seek vengeance. Become a lumen? Do you really want to do that now? If you had powers, it would have been you and not your father in that duel. So we're going to say I'll do it. Because, I mean, that guy's still out there. He's dangerous. We'll do it. Fine. I'll do what I have to do. But I can't imagine ever trusting Juliana ever again. Like to me that trust bridge has kind of been burned. Cuz I would look at her and see, you're the person who didn't step forward and let my dad get killed, even though you probably could have done something about it. Elodie, training in elegance because we're going to get coronated soon. Visitors have arrived to see you. Your family, or what remains of it. Lucille, Countess of Nyx. And this is where I start going, oh my god, 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 because I have been told by Chris that she's the one who is behind all the assassination attempts because she wants her daughter Charlotte to be on the throne, you know, boo hiss. So, oh my god, there's an assassin in our house. And B, I was also told by Chris that if you don't have high enough, it's either medicine or poison or both or something, that there's an invisible poison medicine check in the end game where she will make you infertile so that you can't continue the line, and the line is instead it passes to her heirs. So I'm like, I need to learn herbs and poison as quickly as possible. So here we are with that. My poor darling Elodie, you should not be alone at a time like this. There is so much still to be done, and you so young. We have come to give you whatever help we can. Thank you. She's right, after all. You have a coronation to plan, a domain to run, and without your father, you need some adult to give you advice. Anyone but her! Time has slipped by you so quickly. Only 2 weeks remain before your birthday celebration and your official coronation as queen. Have you done enough to build a stable Nova? It is traditional for the palace to provide entertainment and refreshment for the common people when a new monarch is crowned. It is a rare opportunity for the poor of the land to dine like nobles. Considering the recent tragedy, celebrations may appear to be in poor taste. The size and scope of any such feast depends on what expense the royal treasury is willing to bear. So I said, well, let's do a respectable feast because people need to eat. So I'm sure we can afford to give everyone in the city some bread and sausages and some cake. So let's go visit Charlotte, Lady Merva. Lottie, I'm sorry about your dad. Elodie says, why does it always have to be something like this before we get to see each other? And Charlotte says, I'm sorry. For a while, all you can do is cling to your cousin and cry. At least you are not alone. She would be so much easier to sacrifice if she was evil like her mother instead of a sweet cousin like she is. Poor girl. Okay, yeah, here's where I was freaking out because we need herbs. Like, I'm gonna change in our nurses count. I don't know if that affects the end game, but classes, medicine, herbs, and herbs. Here we go. Boom. We are gonna stay as healthy and well as possible. And now we have 100 in herbs. You have nothing more to learn about herbs. The castle is buzzing with preparations for your upcoming coronation. Ministers press you with details for your favorite colors and flowers and so on. You really can't see the point of wasting time worrying about decorations when there's so much else to worry about. Others are more interested in the subject of your marriage, because remember, we're still betrothed to young Adair. Lucille says, my dear child, there is no shame in delaying matters for a little while. You're so young, and you've been through so much. I could not bear the thought of my own little Charlotte rushed into marriage at your age. Remember poor Kaylee, the last Duchess of Elath? She was only 17 when she died. I am not suggesting that you break your word to your fiancé, only that you take time to reflect. Screw you, Aunt Lucille. We all know what you're out for. So we're gonna plan for a wedding this year, like tomorrow. Gosh darn it. And Elodie says it's important to ensure the stability of the domain. That is exactly why Kaylee's father forced her into that marriage, so that Elath would have an heir. And then she died, giving birth to Adair, as Elodie's finishing the thought. There are dangers, but it's still your duty, isn't it? Let's go to church and work on our depression some more. and just in case, we're also going to take classes in poison too, because I'm seriously scared of our aunt. Here we go. And it may be poison, because there's this one, right, that... So 40 is it's possible to become immune to the venom of a particular snake by routinely ingesting very small amounts. This protection is temporary, will not provide help against other snakes. Cinnabar dust causes tremor, anxiety, and eventually death if ingested over a long term. This is mostly a problem for minors, but it can be dangerous if it's routinely added to someone's food. There's no cure, but most will slowly recover if they have no more dust. The herb of tansy is a mild poison. Drunk as a tea, it drives out worms. Belladonna berries. Hunger Game berries. So yeah, hopefully that will save us from poison. At this time last year, you were celebrating your 14th birthday. It didn't matter so much that you were a princess then. Your title was something for the future. Your parents could not attend on the actual day, but they did send wonderful gifts, some for you and some for you to share. And a week later, they came for a visit, and your mother took you with her through the countryside in a splendid carriage, and it was the last time you would ever see her. And we still don't know exactly how she died. You wonder if wherever she is, she can see you now, and if your dad is with her. You are 15 years old, a legal adult. You have worked and studied and suffered and prepared, and now the time has come. So we made it to the coronation. We screwed up so much. So much. God help us, so much. But we made it to the coronation. Now let's see our ending. What ending did we get? That's a lumen crystal. After the coronation, in a private ceremony with the high priestess, Elodie was officially offered her mother's lumen crystal. That light and power would become a part of her, a tradition that had been passed down for hundreds of years. The tragic events of the past left a gap in the Novan power structure, since Jocelyn, Duke of Caloris, died with no acknowledged heir to his title. Elodie, of course, was the reigning queen, which by tradition would prevent her from holding the duchy as well. In order to resolve the situation quickly, and you don't really understand this, because in the playthroughs where your dad doesn't get killed and doesn't get married, he points suitors to his brother, women suitors to his brother, I thought, for like his brother is going to be the one who makes heirs. So what happened to his brother? I don't remember. In order to resolve the situation quickly and keep the lands within her family, Elodie offered to grant control of Caloris to her uncle Laurent, the current Duke of Merva. And Laurent is like your mother's brother. He's your maternal uncle. The title of Merva, in the meantime, would be transferred to her Aunt Lucille, who had always claimed to be descended from the extinct Mervin line. It would then be up to that couple which of their children inherited which territory. So Lucille, who is evil, got to be Duchess of Merva after all, in title and not just by marriage. So I don't really feel very good about that, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. The subject of magic and lumens remained a slightly uncomfortable one for the citizens of Nova, perfectly fine for the queen who had inherited it by divine right, but not something that other people should be aspiring towards. Look at all the terrible things that happened when that power fell into the wrong hands. I can't say they're entirely wrong. As openly acknowledged lumen, Juliana was met with public suspicion, which we had that in like the first playthrough, and I felt terrible about that, but right now I'm kind of in like fuck you territory because she got my dad killed sort of by inaction. So yeah, I'll feel bad about it later, but right now I can't. True to his word, Togami and the Sajians ignored Nova in the years to come, focusing their efforts instead on the far northern continent of Borealis. Long ago, Borealis had been home to the largest known collection of lumens in the world. If their crystals remained and Togami found them, he could become unstoppable. And yet, he did make mistakes. He had failed to remove all the crystals of power from Nova, and if he came their way again, this time the Novan lumens would be ready for him. So, you know, okay. Years later, when both were adults, Elodie, Queen of Nova, and Adair, Duke of Elath, were married. An entire week of public celebrations was set aside for the wedding, and both bride and groom paraded through the capital on fine white horses from the east. Their relationship often seemed to be more one of friends and companions than passionate lovers, but they brought stability to Nova. So that's good. I'm glad things worked out with Adair. The new hospital, funded by Queen Elodie, offered medical services, and that's nice. Good ending. I thought it would have had some kind of gameplay effect, but I guess not. So, but yay, we have hospitals. Elodie was her mother's daughter, possessed of royal grace and solemnity even as a young woman. The quiet power would only deepen over the years, and thus Queen Elodie's legacy stretched into the future. So that is Let's Play number 3. We ran off with Brienne, which was not as exciting as advertised. I was really hoping we'd bring back something for the effort, you know, knowledge or stuff or something. And we got our dad killed, and that sucked. So that's pretty much it. Yeah. Thank you for listening to yet another like 2-hour long Let's Play. I think these are actually getting longer, which seems kind of counterintuitive. I really had not expected them to get longer. I expected them to get shorter. But thank you for listening to another one. Goodbye. So, hey, one more quick addendum. I remembered after I stopped the video that I promised to go back and build up conversation, because whenever Brienne was talking with us, we failed some kind of conversation check, and I wasn't quite sure what all that did. I hadn't explored that yet. So what I did was I went back to week 23, where we had started studying horses, because we don't really need to have horses. We really just needed to have dancing. So I'm gonna run through that real quick. Anyway, so what I did was back at week 23, instead of studying horses and dogs and falcons, we studied different types of conversation, public speaking, or no, not public speaking, court manners, flattery, that kind of stuff. And now we're at Gwinnell's party again. Gwinnell, who just turned 15. And this is Gwinnell and her mother arguing, which you may remember. And since we actually have good flattery this time, we pass the flattery option. Feelings could easily be hurt on either side here. It's important that everyone involved save face. So we flatter them both and say, I'm sure you have a great deal of wisdom to impart, but isn't that what you've already done? You have to trust in the strength of your own teachings. Trust in the strength and the intelligence of your daughter. Neither of them looks entirely happy, but neither of them looks angry with you either. Which, we're queen. So anyway, Brienne pops up, and we've all seen this. Brienne, yay! So Lore passed the lore, and we offer to help. And since we didn't study horses and dogs and stuff, Adair is still a little afraid of us, but Dad said the same thing. He said, well, I'm sure you'll work things out. So, yeah. We have a weekend to do something, so we're just kind of killing time. I'm sure we have enough conversation. Oh, it was public speaking. But let's go ahead. Oh, and I also wanted to show you, I can't wear it because I want to keep my herbs high, but this is the dress that unlocks for the conversation stuff. So it's called tea dress, and it's cute. It's probably my least favorite outfit just because it's not something that I personally would want to wear. And also I think that hat is something else entirely. But I think she looks happy in it, so that's good. Classes, let's do some more court manners and some more public speaking because we've maxed out flattery. And oh my gosh, look at that. That's a 26 bonus. Jeez Louise. Nice. Public speaking up. And matter of fact, public speaking is one of the things you need to repel Tagami. So you could probably, I think it has to be public speaking 70, and I think you have to have like a voice of 100. So, let me do a quick, I've got the wiki over real quick. So, yeah, you sing to him with a voice of 100, a test of public speaking of 70, oh, and you need presence of 70. But at this point in the game, you could probably do a Brienne run and get your voice to 100 and your presence to 70. It might be close. It might be close. And I'm not going to run through it because we've already seen that. Go back and watch Let's Play number 1 if you want to see it. So this is Brienne. Conversation, success. Is that what this is really about? Brienne's parents? Ask about Brienne's parents. This is the same as before. Well, I don't know what the conversation check did, because we got both that option and the same dialogue. So that makes me feel like maybe there's a bug in the game that the option unlocked even though we failed the conversation check. But, either way, we saved Brienne from going, which is probably the best thing. Let's go through and just see when her mom shows up if anything different happens. Oh, I don't know. Here, afraid. Skills, classes, let's throw some more public speaking. And you could have spent one of those on presents, I'm sure. Duchess of Mead, Elodie, where's my daughter? Which one? Thank goodness you're alright. Yeah, there was no skill check there. So I'm guessing that the Brienne thing is probably a bug. That ask her about her parents thing was probably supposed to only open up if conversation had been passed, and it's still there anyway. But I don't know, it's a bug. I'm guessing that. But anyway, that is what happens if you unlock conversation early. Practically nothing. But since you didn't need horses, you could have gotten by on dancing. That would have been enough. It might be enough time here for you to actually go forward and take the voice option. In fact, let me look at, it's week 31. You would need a 70 in presence, and you would need a 100 in voice, and you've got no bonuses on those, and you'd also have to get 25 in these, so that'd be like a week, another week, 2 weeks, another 2 weeks, that's 4. It'd be close. It'd be real close. But having said that, we didn't need to spend all that time on conversation. You could have gone back to week 23 when we started doing horses, and because we started horses in week 23, we did horses again in week 24, we did dogs and falcons in week 25, we did dogs and falcons in week 26, and we did horses again in week 27, and then I just completely started farting around and did meditation in 28 and divination at 29, and those did nothing for us. So that was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks where we could have been training voice and presence and public speaking. Before that, for 2 weeks I did, no, for 3 or 4 weeks we did a bunch of intrigue stuff that ended up not being useful, and then everything after Brittany was training composure, which we didn't need anyway, because the only reason we needed composure was because that kept us from leaping at Togami and getting ourselves killed when Dad got killed. So it is absolutely possible, in my opinion, to do a Brittany run and the vocal angel ending. So I recommend that, unless you're just trying to see your dad get killed, because I did find that very, very sad. Even if he was useless, he was our dad, and that's hard. So that is the Brittany forest run / getting your dad killed by accident because he didn't give you your crystal way back when it would have been useful for you to start training, and Juliana doesn't step forward when she could have made a difference. Run. Thank you so much for watching. Goodbye.